What's up? I'm your local pleb, and there's no other experience you'll have than going to the circus. The circus has everything you'll need to have an enjoyable time. Grab yourself a bag of popcorn and a handful of peanuts as you watch wondrous acts of intensity and elegance that you'll most likely never see anywhere else. Watch as elephants do that thing where they balance on top of small platforms as they chuck balls around with their trunks as people decide to climb and ride on top of them. Where do these plebs get their ideas from? Look on as some radical shoots themselves out of a cannon as they fire themselves through flaming hoops. Let's hope that plebs like those sign a waiver. Oh, and who could forget the clowns? Clowns are the pinnacle mascot of any circus in town. I mean, when you think of going to a circus, the first thing that you're gonna think of are clowns and the wacky antics they get up to. Blowing up balloon animals, having the noses that honk, and wearing flowers that squirt water in your face. They just have it all. Now, someone like me doesn't really go to many circuses since they're not really popular around here, which is pretty unfortunate. So, I thought it'd be a good idea to start one up myself. I'm actually practicing to present my first act, as a matter of fact. Apparently, this pleb has the capabilities of slipping through anything, so I've decided to put them inside of a steel cell. All they have to do is slip through the bars easy peasy, and once this works out, we can make the tricks more advanced to captivate the audience so that they'll be on the edge of their seat. Wait, doesn't being able to slip out of everything also mean unable to get crushed, or am I thinking of something else? If there's anything that you can take away from what I just showed you, it's mainly two things. Firstly, I've always been someone who's been captivated by the concept of the circus because of the ridiculous and wacky stuff that they have going on there. However, the second thing is that it's true that I've never been to one before. I've been to fairs and amusement parks, but never a circus. It is kind of unfortunate, but I'm gonna have to settle for the next best thing. Watching something circus related from the comfort of my own home. That sounded a lot more loser-like, didn't it? You may be unfamiliar with the YouTube channel Glitch, or Glitch Productions. If you are familiar, then good for you. However, if you're not, then let me just state right now that they're a channel based around animating digital series for you to watch on YouTube. Some of the examples include Sunset Paradise and Meta Runner. Oh yeah, and who could forget about the Killer Bots one, to be honest. However, they recently released a pilot for a new show they've been working on known as The Amazing Digital Circus. And let me tell you that when the trailer alone dropped, I was pretty stunned for what the show had to offer. I mean, the description of the pilot alone says, "The Amazing Digital Circus is a psychological dark comedy about cute cartoon characters who hate their lives and want to leave." Well, if that doesn't have you hooked, then I have no idea what can. I don't think I've done a video like this before, but what this video is going to be about is me giving a summary of what happens within the pilot and then give you my personal favorite things about it as I talk about more at the end. Bear in mind that I won't provide every single detail because this video would last for hours if that was the case, so I'll condense this as much as needed. Heck, even before you watch this video, I heavily recommend that you watch the original video by itself. It's around 25 minutes, so I do recommend that you watch the whole thing to just get a better feel of the whole thing. However, as I mentioned before, if you have popcorn or peanuts in hand, you better strap in because the show is just about to begin. We start off near this field, which looks like it has the graphics of a PlayStation 1 game, but then it just turns high quality in an instant, and we're instantly introduced to the ringmaster Caine and their little assistant, Bubble. A really cute intro plays introducing all of the characters, which include Gangle, who seems to be made out of a long ribbon while bearing a comedy mask for a face, Zooble, who looks like a mash of a bunch of random objects put together, Caine, who hides in a little pillow fort as they bear a gown and chest piece for a head, Ragatha, who looks like a pincushion lady, which is represented by her button for an eye, Jax, who is a purple humanoid bunny with overalls with a wide grin on his face, and Kaufmo, who apparently is a clown, but they didn't even show up on set that day. After a bit more of the intro, we're introduced to this jester character who came out of nowhere and is just terrified of everything as everything seems to glitch. Apparently none of them expected her to appear in here, and neither did her as well. Apparently she's a human who entered inside of here via a sort of headset and can't even take it off. Even Jack states that they've all tried taking it off as well, but it obviously never worked. Oh, and I should probably be more careful when dropping those bombs because you can't even swear inside of the circus. At all. This already feels like a nightmare. The new pleb, before having a small mental breakdown, just tries to convince themselves that this is all one crazy dream that they'll have to play along with. Because Lord only knows that whenever anyone says that, it's actually the case. Caine, of course, wants to give a tour of the entire place to the new pleb so they can fit in. This includes the tent, which is where they'll be living, the grounds, which has a digital lake and a digital carnival to have fun in, and also the void, which they don't go out into that much. The new pleb does actually manage to see an exit door, but is instantly taken away, and then proceeds to puke all over the floor, in which then Bubble proceeds to lick it up. Am I still watching the same show, or am I dreaming and not wearing a headset as well? She tries to ask about the door, but Caine gives the excuse of digital hallucinations to try and explain it. Oh, and the new pleb can't remember their name, much like everyone else who entered in here since Caine can't control people's minds. Not to worry, because Caine gives her the new name, So, okay, I can't continue saying that. Caine tries again until she gets the name Pomni. Caine then offers Pomni an opportunity at a simple adventure with it being called Gather the Gloinks, which are apparently creatures of many shapes that try to steal and take whatever they can in the circus. The Gloinks would take apart the entirety of Zooble and run off. just to take apart Kinger's pillow fort. Ragatha wants the gang to check up on our missing clown Kaufmo, but Kinger states that he's apparently gone off the deep end by repeatedly talking about an exit. Much like another someone in this circus. After getting gloinked in the face, Jax wants himself, Ragatha, and Pomni to check in on Kaufmo as Kinger and Gangle deal with helping Zooble and getting rid of the gloinks. They walk through a hallway that apparently has all of their rooms, which actually includes Pomni, who just looks like if the wide-eyed emoji face and the boo-womp SpongeBob had a clown daughter. Ragatha has the occasional mental breakdown as she explains why they gave up looking for an exit, until they all stop as they arrive at Kaufmo's door. Oh, and of course Pomni starts to lose it before Jax snaps her out of it. The door ends up being locked, so Jax uses a key he most likely stole to end up getting inside, and it is just an abhorrent mess inside with the text on the walls that say exit over and over again. Oh, you can't forget about the corrupted beast in front of them. It's the small details that count after all. Apparently this monster is Kaufmo after reaching their breaking point. Jax had already bailed and practically pins Ragatha. I swear, I didn't mean for that to sound like a pincushion pun. After Ragatha gets absolutely folded, Pomni tries to help Ragatha but ends up having her hand get abstracted to some degree. And thus the monster chase sequence begins. Luckily, Pomni causes the creature to fall through some barrier leading to the bottom floor of the tent, which Kauf monster gets distracted by the plebby gloinks. However, we cut back to Kinger and Gangle looking at some sort of a hole which a gloink took one of Zooble's pieces down. Jax actually comes back to the two of them and casually pushes the both of them in along with himself, most likely as an attempt to hide from the Kauf monster. They end up in some sort of a cave that has a giant worm creature that might be the father or mother of all of the gloinks. Pomni then returns to Ragatha, in which then Ragatha explains that Pomni needs to find Caine so they can fix everything up in their corrupted state, including Kaufmo. But of course, they don't know where he is. Pomni tries her hardest to find Caine, even going through a whole plethora of rooms that half end up in something that's terrifying, or half end with her getting punched in the face. But of course, she happens to run into the Kauf monster again. Great. We go back to the cave clubs where we find out that they're in front of the Gloink Queen. Kinger also tries to grab Zooble to save her with the help of his detached arms. With the help of his detached arms! Of course, Zooble then gets her head eaten, and despite Jax trying to reassure the others that it's all good, something ain't right about all of this. We go back into the antics of Pomni and the Kauf monster, in which she manages to escape once again through the help of a barrel full of monkeys, in which we then also see her find the exit? Without wanting to be cornered by the Kauf monster, she steps immediately through. She then ends up in this weird office building with every room she goes through changing after opening the next one, but we also see the door disappear from where it once was. Is she trapped forever? Well, that doesn't matter now, because what matters is that the Kauf monster ends up slamming into the underground area directly on top of the Gloink Queen. As those two giant monsters are dealing with each other, the others manage to see an escalator to help them escape out of this pit. However, while they may be lucky in finding a means of escape, Pomni certainly isn't, as she repeatedly runs into room after room after room endlessly. Doesn't it seem like the rooms are actually starting to repeat? Is this actually all in her mind? What's happening anymore? She does manage to see a computer amongst everything else around here, which of course causes her to nearly lose her mind. All we know is that, seemingly, the logo for this place is called CNA, which as of right now, we don't know what it could mean. After going through one hallway that feels endless, she makes it through one last door that leads to the void? It's unclear as to what she's feeling right now. Fear? Anxiousness? Terror? Confusion? Maybe all the above. Oh, and after that terrifying event, we see Caine and Bubble having dinner together. However, his patented Wacky Watch, which also apparently has a website link, notifies him that someone had entered into the void. Caine in an instant warps over to Pomni, getting her the out of there. Luckily, Caine is also nice enough to take this Kauf monster into the cellar, which has them forever trapped in there, I guess. He's even nice enough to revert Ragatha back to normal. And for some reason, Pomni's hand isn't abstracted anymore? Weird. Caine then explains that the exit actually did exist, but it was never finished. This is why Pomni went through all of the repeated suffering to end up back at the void. However, since the adventure is over, Caine rewards all the others with a patented digital feast. But the thing is, does it really matter? After all, it's all digital. You can't eat, you can't drink, or possibly even sleep when you're in a reality that isn't even your own. All of it is just an illusion just to please your senses to make you think that you're in a comfortable place. However, it's all just a mirage. None of it matters. The only thing that you can really do now is to just force on a smile. And that was the Amazing Digital Circus. Before I really get my opinions going on for this one, let's call back to the moment where Caine had a small advertisement of their Wacky Watch. Would you believe that it actually goes to a website about the Wacky Watch itself? So I gave it a gander. After all, maybe I'd like to cop up one of those Wacky Watches myself. This website, as far as I know, doesn't have anything other than some sort of an exclusive trailer with really nothing noteworthy except for a few things. First, I'm pretty sure these creators of the commercial are behind everything manufactured for the Amazing Digital Circus. These include the virtual reality headsets that our players are wearing, the Wacky Watches that Caine wears, and even the Glorb Sticks. Seriously, where can I buy one of these glow sticks? Though another thing to take into consideration is that Caine is actually a human, as we see them in real life here, and then we also see them gone but on the TV screen as well. Whatever company is doing this has some sort of new technology that isn't just sending your vision into virtual reality, but your entire body as well. I don't know how exactly that's possible, but it can be some dangerous technology if used in a bad manner. I mean, Kaufmo was already sent down into the cellar for becoming self-aware, and it wouldn't surprise me if Pomni was the next in line. However, considering that she's our protagonist, I highly doubt that's the case, at least as of right now. Now, what do I think about this pilot after watching the whole video? Well, to say it bluntly, I'm stoked. The opening of the video with Pomni showing up without having a single clue as to what anything is already a good hook for viewers to be curious as to what's going on behind the devious circus. The music fits every single scene, from having a goofy music track play whenever something wacky is happening, to something more ominous and eerie playing whenever something out of the norm happens. It's perfect despite the whole thing looking goofy and toony. I mean, I also need to mention that. The design of the characters, the backgrounds, the areas both within the circus and outside are just phenomenal. There's so many things that I loved about this that I heavily recommend that you need to see it for yourself if you haven't watched the video yet. Like, I think you're out of your mind if you haven't gone and watched it yet. Oh, and the characters? The characters are just... I'm gonna talk about each and every one shortly because sheesh, I have a lot to say. Caine is just the best in regards to how they act. Not only do they look wacky with how they talk, but they're ecstatic and chaotic, mixing into this beautiful ringmaster host. Then mix in the fact that he seemingly controls everything, you just get this entity of calamity who just wants to produce something humorous. Pomni is just the epitome of someone filled with confusion and anxiety. Like, I just want to give her a hug in the hopes that maybe something will make her feel better throughout this whole ordeal. From being randomly warped here to experiencing the abstracted version of Kaufmo, and even witnessing the endless office rooms and the void. Can she at least get like one hug? Jax is probably one of my favorite characters in this. Even in dangerous situations, they'll always find a way to measle out of it and realistically show barely much fear. They're definitely the type to start trouble and just not care about it. However, he doesn't come off as a prick, but does come off more as slick and sleazy about it. It's to the point where he doesn't feel like an annoyance, but it's actually pretty enjoyable whenever he appears. Ragatha is not only adorable, but is probably one of the nicest characters in the crew. She does manage to try and be the nicest around Pomni despite all the circumstances happening around them. I do hope that they utilize her ragdoll-like abilities more, which I know technically they did when Kaufmo slammed her against the walls, but maybe they can make her hold weapons and other things? Who knows? Kinger is pretty interesting, as it's been stated that he's been trapped in the digital circus the longest, which does explain why he has a few loose screws in that brain he calls a chess piece. I even like the gown and chess piece design, and also love the fact they gave him a little pillow for it as if it were a small kingdom. Gangle is someone who I really can't wait to see more out of. I mean, all we've seen from Gangle is her having her tragedy mask on because her happy comedy mask was broken during the intro of the pilot. She also deserves a hug, but I guarantee can cheer people up if given the correct mask. Zooble seems like the one who cares about the situation the least, kinda like an uninterested brat, which I don't want that to sound like a bad thing. I think it breaks up the character quota of being more on the careless side who only cares about herself. That could potentially change in the future though. Lastly, Kaufmo. Well, he's seen better days. If they decided to add more characters, I'd be surprised with who they decide to add. I mean, there are plenty of circus acts that can happen in the circus, so who knows what the future could hold for a cast of crazy characters. The last thing I'll talk about is our potential story. We've already seen what we know from the pilot in the Wacky Watch video, so what could it all mean? Well, I kinda have a theory where it could explain a few things, but I am kinda going off of a stretch. Obviously, Caine is the reason behind all of this if it wasn't obvious enough. However, it goes a bit deeper than that. At the very end of the video, we see the same exact computer that Pomni ended up finding whilst going through the office building. This office building should be the main base of operations of the Amazing Digital Circus, which seems to be a bit more meta than we think. In the video of the Wacky Watch website, we see this menu that makes the Amazing Digital Circus feel like either a playable DVD or even an old online game. Either or could make sense, but it'd make a little bit more sense in my opinion for it to be a playable game. Firstly, when the video originally started, we see the graphics of the visuals look like an old PlayStation 1 game. The graphics only change to a higher degree once we enter the reality of the people from within the digital circus. Also, you can't forget about the abstracted, which look like corrupted entities as if a game wasn't finished yet. I mean, after all, Caine himself mentioned that there wasn't an exit program for anyone to get through yet. The only thing you see when you make it through is the void. This leads to my personal theory of the void, where I think it's some sort of an unfinished level or some sort of an area that has unfinished walls that can make you peer into other levels as if it were a spoiler for what's to come. However, it's too much for Pomni or realistically anyone else to handle other than Caine, considering that he's one of the developers of this thing. Now that doesn't mean there aren't a few questions that require questioning and need answers. For example, is this the last that we're going to be seeing of Kaufmo? Is there more than just Caine in control? What other inventions and utilities does this C&A company have? Also, if the players from within the digital circus are are capable of leaving into the office buildings, then what's stopping them from ending the program as soon as possible? Also, how is Pomni able to find a sort of exit and everyone else wasn't able to? Is there something special about Pomni? The only other character who was so obsessive over finding an exit was Kaufmo, and, well, we already know where he ended up. However, all in all, this series is personally a must-watch in my opinion. I really hope this gets greenlit and turned into a full series, because it seems that online animated series are becoming the newest hype these days. I mean, just look at Hell of a Boss and Ina. Oh, and don't worry, I'm gonna be making videos on all of those in the future. Genuinely show this pilot as much love and support as you can. I also need to mention that while this video isn't sponsored, but if you want to show even more support to them, they have a whole line of merch including plushies of both Pomni and Jax. All of the merch even looks humorous, colorful, and awesome as well. If this pilot becomes a full series, I would not mind watching every episode and also trying to look at every keen detail, because not only does this series look adorable and charming on the surface, but had some tones under the floors of the show that make this seem like it has a lot deeper of a story than we currently know. I'm really proud of Glitch Productions teaming up with Gooseworks so they can release hit after hit after hit, because I can tell that this series is already going to go far. Will this be better than their titan of a show, Murder Drones? Well, only time can tell, and I'm willing to spend that time waiting. Though I think another thing that I need to make sure a circus has is a janitor, just in case there's any casualties in the workplace. The fact that I haven't been arrested yet is a magic trick by itself.